Well, hello. My name's Penny. I live in the southeast of England with my husband Pete and my 4 chickens. Welcome. It's lovely to see you again if you've been here before. If you're new, you're more than welcome. I sit down, I have a chat with you, I tell you what I've been crafting this week. Mum does a little bit this week. Tells you about our life, a little bit of our life in Harlow when we moved there in 1952. And I've done a fascinating fact about the emperor penguin. Oh, we went out and it was such a beautiful sunny day. Have you had those days? Gorgeous. And the tide, well, I'll tell you about it when we get to the film. And what else? I'm going to do some TA after this. And oh, I know, Pete was making a soup, so I thought, well, I might as well film it. So yeah, there's a little bit of cooking. It's something and nothing, but well, there we are. So that's what Penelope's Chinwag is all about. A little chat. It's about crafting, some transactional analysis, which I started in episode 12. If that's something you'd like to catch up with, it's there. Because I was a counsellor for the NHS for a good number of years, and I decided to have a little chat about that. So shall we get on? So what have I been crafting? Well, my grandson popped in last week, and the sock that I'd knitted him fitted like a glove. I was so thrilled. So I've turned the heel and I'm knitting the foot bit now of the second one. So I'll show you that when I'm finished. I'm a bit disappointed because the wool, although I unravelled it and started it, so the 2 socks, because it was such a jazzy pattern, I thought it's got to be the same. The 2 socks are the same, but I've turned the heel and now it's completely different pattern. And if I've unravelled the little other bits that I've got, no, I haven't got any more blue. So they are going to be jazzy because they're not going to match. But at least the leg's going to match. I don't think I should be purchasing that wool again. It hasn't suited me. And I can't think that I've done anything wrong because I unravelled it to exactly the same, and then, no. And it wasn't like I'd run out and then I couldn't match up. It was that it just didn't follow on. It was a completely different pattern. So anyway, I'm knitting it up. If they fit fine, they'll be lovely. So I made my daughter Kim an iPad and phone case, which it was lovely. Well, lovely for her. She really liked it. As you know, it was Peter Rabbit, and she's got that in her bedroom. And she said it's lovely because I can charge the iPad whilst it's in there, and I know where everything is. And so she had it in her kitchen. I said, oh, you need one for your kitchen, really. So I've made her another one. And I had some, because I used to watch Sewing Quarter when it was on. I don't know if you ever watched that. But then turned on a sixpence, they closed down. And the people, as you know, they were absolutely surprised it was coming to an end. But come to an end it did. And yeah, it did. And so I bought up quite a bit. I've got a nice bit of stash. And I've made her, it's like leather. I got a metre of it, and it's got that backing. You can see it's quite, but it's not. It's wipeable. So I thought, well, why not make one out of that? So that's what I did. She said, Mum, I only want one pocket. The phone fits in nicely. Let me show you my phone. Phone fits in nicely in there, so you could recharge that whilst it's in there, and then the iPad fits nicely in there. So I'm a little bit disappointed because working with this material, it's the first time I've ever done it, and when I look at that, that's not quite in the centre, and it irritated me. I might undo it, but I might not. I'm struggling with myself at the minute because it's for Kim. She's not anyway. I'm still in that. But when I first did Chinwag, I explained about it's there. It's looking at me. Wabi-sabi. It's Japanese for take joy in imperfection. And I think as crafters, that's what we need to learn to do. Things don't have to be perfect. I struggle with that. This is what makes me think about Wabi Sabi, because at the beginning of lockdown, March 2020, these smelt, they were unbelievable. They truly were unbelievable. I mean, the smell and the colour, they were super, super. And, but I just left them to dry and I love them. And yeah, they're not perfect, are they? In fact, they're paper thin now. But I love them. And it reminds me of Wabi Sabi. So yeah. Some things I can wabi-sabi easily, and other things I just want to get right. But I know that, you see, if I undo that, no, it's going to stay like it is. But it's a good learning curve. And Kim wanted a handle on. I didn't put a handle on the other one. She said, Mum, I need a handle. Good. That's another learning curve. So I'm quite pleased with it because I've never worked with that material before. And it's turned out okay. Yeah. You see, it's all right. What else? It's just been lovely weather. Been out in the sunshine, been out for walks. But it made me think. I was going to tell you a little story about Pete, what happened to him. One December day, I drove home from work, and it was just like now because the sea mist has come in. And it was about 4 o'clock. I was coming home from work. It was dark. It was misty. It was, you know, those December days, damp. And I imagine it's going to be like that today once it turns dark. It's going to be that, you know, it's beautiful when the sun's out. But anyway, as I pulled up to go into the drive, a lady and man were standing there, and she stopped me. She flagged me down, and she said, don't go in, she said, get out of the car. We need to explain something. And I said, what do you mean explain something? She said, your husband needs you. He needs you. I said, what do you mean he needs me? She said, well, come round and see. I said, no, I'm no good at that sort of thing. I said, I'm no good at that sort of thing. Tell me what's happened. She said, well, your husband's fallen down a hole. I thought, well, what is he, a hobbit? Fallen down a hole? How can you fall down a hole? How can you fall down a hole? She said, well, come and see. I said, I'll just wait here till it's all right. You let me know when it's all right. I said, no. So she said, please get out the car and come round and see. Well, when I went round there, I'm putting a picture up here of what had happened in the drive. Pete was out there sweeping up the leaves because we had a big sycamore tree in the garden, in the front garden. He was just sweeping up the leaves, waiting for me to come home from work. And yeah, the ground opened up. It's called a sinkhole, isn't it? I've put a picture here. And fortunately, he didn't go right down. He fell, knocked himself unconscious, or semi-unconscious, you know. But yeah, he said, he didn't know where he was or what. And our road's a very quiet road. We don't have many people walking down that time of the day. Well, we don't. It's not like a thoroughfare road. But it just so happened that he was calling out, help, help. And this couple were walking past and came to his aid. They'd only just got there. And thankfully they had. Otherwise I would have reversed in and just reversed over him. It doesn't even bear thinking about. But yeah, he was well. So we phoned, 999. And I, of course, was in shock by then. And I remember a paramedic coming. You know, they come in these, like, you know, cars with the bit at the back. And I just looked at that and I said, "You're not taking my husband to hospital in that." I was in shock. I said, "No, my husband needs an ambulance. If you wouldn't mind phoning for an ambulance." He looked at me and he said, "Well, should we just give him a check over?" I said, "You're not moving him because of the back situation. You know, you have to be careful. You have to put the thing round the neck and not move him." And he said, "Well, let's just sit him up and see how he is." I said, "I'd rather you didn't move him and I'd rather you send for an ambulance, please." And anyway, of course, he didn't listen to me. He was very good, actually. He was on his own. Usually there's two of them, isn't there? But he was on his own. And he got Pete sitting up and he said, "Well, how are you?" And Pete seemed coherent then. And I just kept looking at him, daggers, as if to say, "What, you know, I hope you're doing the right thing with him." And what was quite scary was that the man who'd rescued him was standing quite near the edge of the hole, and Pete kept thinking, please get away, we don't want you going down there, you know," because Pete could see being there, that the drive, the paving slab bits, he could see that underneath there was all undermined, but the man was standing on there and they could have gone. So he was worried about them, the rescuers. I was worried about the paramedic. Honestly, what an afternoon. It was dark. And then, of course, he got Pete inside and Pete walked. And then, of course, he was euphoric. And then the world and his oyster came in, our next door neighbour. Well, the police came. Or was it? Yes, the police came, put up that tape, police tape, yeah, put up the police tape. My grandson drove past. He was on his way to the hospital because his other granddad was in hospital, not well. And he drove past and he saw police tape and he came running in and said, "What's happened?" And so we, mind the drive, can't go on the drive. We just had this little bit we could walk down. Oh, no. Oh dear, it was. And then, of course, so the police were in our kitchen. Well, you've seen our kitchen, it's not that big. The police were in our kitchen. Then the fire brigade turned up. They'd heard that the garage had disappeared into a sinkhole. And of course, Pete was euphoric. What did he do? He opened a bottle of wine, red or white. Our neighbours then saw the police tape. They came in and everybody was drinking wine. I was saying, please don't drink any more because you don't know how you're going to feel in a minute. And what a time. So I thought I'd tell you that story. This afternoon is reminding me of that because at the moment I've got my light on, which is making it nice and bright. But at the minute it's very murky and it's sea mist. And the best of the day is gone. So what a day. Of course, to make it worse, we had a couple of people coming to stay that night. Things, honestly, you can't write it, can you? And of course, Pete then, he couldn't get up the next day. He spent a couple of days in bed, a couple of walking sticks, and it was about a week before he could, say he felt perfectly well. So that was a fiasco, wasn't it? Yeah. Do you remember the time Pete fell down the hole? When you say hole, well, you just think, what, a rabbit hole? What, did he twist his ankle? No, it was a sinkhole. Oh, and I'll tell you what happened. What had happened was, I could hear water. I'd been hearing it for quite a while. Just in the pipes. It was a funny thing. But what had happened was, the water in the road, so it was the responsibility of the council, that had, come undone. And so it'd been leaking. And because we're on chalk, it just worn it all away. So, of course, then we had not only the fire brigade, the police, the neighbours, and the paramedics, we then had the council drilling the road up to mend the leak. So there we are. That was quite a day. So I thought I'd share that with you. I don't know why it came in my head, but there's the story to tell. So I'm going to say cheerio. Well, not cheerio. You know I don't say cheerio. I'm going to say I'm putting a fascinating fact up now, and it's going to be of the emperor penguin. So I hope you enjoy that.
The emperor penguin can jet through the water and leap onto an ice shelf at an amazing speed. How? The emperor penguin traps air in its feathers. Not only does this insulate the bird against extreme cold, but it also enables it to move 2 or 3 times faster than it otherwise could. How? Marine biologists have suggested that it does so by releasing tiny air bubbles from between its feathers. As these bubbles are released, they reduce friction on the surface of the penguin's plumage, enabling the bird to accelerate. Interestingly, engineers have been studying ways to make ships go faster by using bubbles to reduce friction against their hulls. However, researchers acknowledge that further investigation is challenging because the complexity of penguin plumage would be difficult to replicate in a man-made porous membrane or mesh.
Well, what design? It can't be copied. It's fantastic, isn't it? Have you seen those on the wildlife films, haven't you? Whoosh, out they come. And I like that picture there with all the bubbles showing how they've got air all around them. Aren't penguins gorgeous? Anyway, what's next? Shall I put the bit up about Pete cooking? Yeah, I'll put the little bit up now about Pete cooking the carrot soup. Hope you enjoy that. I'll see you the other side.
Oh, so you're making carrot soup? Okay. So you've topped and tailed the carrots and now you're just brushing them off. Yeah, not peeling them because they're organic and they're just giving them a brush.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this recipe...
Yeah. It's very old.
It's very old because you got the book when you were at college.
Yeah.
You said... You know, so you've got 100 grams of bacon there, haven't you?
Lean bacon.
Lean
It's
bacon.
back, yeah.
Okay.
We've got sweating away nicely.
Sweating the bacon and the onion. And then we've got 3.5 pints of stock. Use what you want. And then you've got your carrots all cut up in there.
Yeah.
Righty-ho, that's been simple. So, oh look, you can see my beetroot. I adore beetroot. I just cook them and eat them. Just like that, in between meals. That's my in between meals thing.
I said you can let it brown a touch.
The bacon and the onions brown.
Just
lightly brown.
Yeah,
3.5 pints of stock, and then the carrots.
Yeah.
You see, beetroot and carrot are sweetest to me. And then you put the carrots in. That's it. I'm off that. No mess.
Sweat that off, those carrots off a bit.
Oh, you finished with the scale. Oh, what you got there?
My rice.
Oh, so you've washed the rice.
Yeah, well, you never know.
Okay.
Habit.
Have
I
it.
don't know if you have to wash rice now, but I always do.
You always do, right? Just to show you what carrots and onion and
As if they didn't know. There it
bacon. Well, young people,
There we
some of
go.
them. That's it. It's all sweated off. Just a little bit unctuous.
is. You can put that in.
Right. In goes the liquid. Yeah. And then in goes the rice. Now, how long are you going to cook that for, Pete?
Till the
Carrots are soft. There it is. Rice.
Bring it to the boil.
Bring it to the boil and then let it simmer. This is the book that he bought when he was at college.
Yeah.
We won't ask him what year because that takes a bit of time.
Oh.
We have outtakes then.
Simmer slowly for 1 hour. Sorry.
1 hour?
Yeah, I thought it was
Okie
longer than
doke
half
then.
hour. But once
Okay.
that's full,
You can see how old the book is.
but this
Modern
is
French culinary art.
Yeah, and this is the bit I used. It's modern then.
Yeah. Lovely. It's got recipes for everything.
Fish dishes, there you
Oh,
go.
look. Yeah. Oh,
No,
look,
it's
that they're old-fashioned.
Yeah, that looks really silly now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's have a look at some of the cold hors d'oeuvres.
Well, I never.
There you go. There's some,
I bet they tasted nice.
cheese.
Yeah. Not much, you know, it's a little bit like the bake-off. It doesn't tell you how. So, this is the soup.
It will be in a minute.
Okay, that's all cooked then, nice and soft.
Yeah, all nice and
And
soft.
here it goes. We do it in the training. So here we are. Here's our carrot soup. All nicely sieved and creamy and smooth. Put some cream in that if you fancied it. If not, it's really tasty. The rice and the bacon, to me, gives it a gorgeous flavour, that little bit of onion. I hope you enjoy it.
You can boil up some more rice. This is a garnish.
Well, that truly is a lovely recipe. I think, I mean, if you're vegetarian, you don't have to use the bacon, obviously. I think that rice being in it somehow gives it a lovely unctuousness. It's really delicious and you get that flavour coming through. So there we are. Pete's carrot soup. Yeah. We always have that in times when you need a little bit of TLC. So what's next? Well, I popped over to see Mum this morning. Yeah, I'll put that up now. We'll have a chat together. I'll see you the other side of that then. Well, I've popped round to Mum so we can have a little chat because finally you've moved to Harlow. We touched on it before, didn't we?
Yes.
So we're in 1952, Mum.
Yes.
And before we start about Harlow, I was just thinking, in 1952 there was the Great Smog.
Yes.
In London, wasn't there?
Oh, that was awful.
Awful.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can remember just very briefly watching one of the bus conductors walking in front of the bus,
Yeah.
helping the driver
Yeah.
the way, because
Yeah.
the buses and cars all got stuck. The fog was so thick.
Yeah. I think they stopped the
Yes,
buses then,
that's
and it was
right,
just the
yes.
underground
That was just
went.
the beginning of
That was the
when it
beginning,
started, yes.
And you feel you must have popped back to see Nanny
Yes.
and Grandad because it
Yes.
was the 5th to the 9th of December, I think. And
Yes.
of course, you were living in
Yes.
Harlow.
Yes.
Now, Harlow compared to the Great Smog of
Oh.
London,
Oh,
well, what was it
no,
like?
it was lovely. It was country, and Harlow Old Town was a lovely little old village. And of course the new town was built with all the lovely shops and everything.
Yeah.
So the mixture was lovely.
Yeah.
You'd walk into the old town and then back to your lovely new flat.
we were spoilt, really. Some of the old people that lived in the older houses in the old town must have thought, my goodness, we'd love to be in one of those.
Yeah. Well, you certainly loved it, didn't you? And you
Yes, oh,
deserved it, Mum. How you'd
yes.
been living for those years, you know,
Yes.
without a sink and
Yes.
sharing a single
Yes.
bed. I was watching a programme on the television. I know it was in the factory, and it was about Urkel furniture, and it was telling you about
yes.
furniture just,
Yes.
you know, during and after the war, utility furniture,
Yes.
because it was so scarce.
Yes.
And you had to get the... you have enough coupons.
Yes,
yeah.
to have it.
Yeah. So here you
Yes.
were, but of course 1952, still being rationed.
Yes.
So even though it's, you know, after the war like
Yes.
that, you're still heavily rationed, really, weren't you?
Yes.
So you decided, Mum, to become vegetarians.
Yes.
Yeah. Because...
we met this couple.
Yeah.
I believe Dad met him or heard of this couple, knew them from work, but then they didn't live that far away. They lived quite, you know, near enough for us to visit them and see them. And they were vegans then,
Right.
strict vegetarians. They wouldn't wear leather shoes.
Okay.
And certain clothes they wouldn't wear.
Yeah.
And they were very strict in their food intake.
Right.
But then there were lots of articles and programs about keeping healthy, keeping your body healthy, keeping, yes.
All the exercise,
all the
wasn't
exercises,
it?
yes.
Yeah.
Eating healthily.
Yeah.
And what you could do to make yourself healthier, better.
Right. So this was post-war Britain that was
Yes.
saying this to you.
Yeah.
And here you were living in the countryside,
Yes.
in a new town, and making new friends.
Yes.
So what did you do with this then? You could have more cheese. I think it was
Yes.
12 ounces of
The
cheese a week.
compared to 2 or 3 ounces
Yes.
before. So we were able to do lots of lovely dishes with the cheese. And when you could get eggs, mix it with eggs. There was lots of, when we got into recipes then,
Right.
that we could use. And because this couple had been vegetarians for many years, they were able to help us with different recipes and how they lived and what they did.
But it was what they were introducing you to. You really took to, didn't you, Mum?
Yes.
Well, Dad especially,
Yes.
I think. Do you think Dad especially?
Yes, Dad especially.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so where did you go? You went to this place in Hertfordshire.
Yes. Well, they were also, as well as being vegetarians and healthy in their eating, they were also healthy in letting their bodies get the air because they were naturists.
Naturists.
And they belonged to a naturist club called Spielplatz.
And it's still there, Mum?
Yes.
Yes, so it must have been very successful.
Yes. It was very well planned, and because everybody was nudist, they took their clothes, you know, led their lives in that particular time when they were there without any clothes.
Yeah.
Everything was well run, everything was organised as regards a gym and swimming pool and everything, that if the weather wasn't all that great outside, to let the air get to your body, there was all things inside that would make you healthier physically.
And it's how it's brought up. I mean,
yes.
When my grandchildren came round, first thing I did, Mum, let the air get to your body.
Yes.
Oh, it's just in here.
Yes.
You know, nappies off, take clothes off, let them run round, let their air get to their body. And that comes from my childhood, always.
And when you think of some of the things that people did then, when they went to the beach, or they wore their clothes. They wore many clothes, not just thin swimming costumes. They dressed.
And knitted swimming costumes, which were heavy and claggy, Whereas when you went to Cornwall, You didn't?
No.
No. I know.
No.
So, yes, it takes... Now, how did the family feel about
Well,
this,
no.
Mum?
They thought that somehow we'd got mixed up with peculiar people, and
Right.
we'd gone a bit peculiar because they just didn't understand that groups of people could walk about like that
Yeah.
for hours on end,
Yeah.
enjoying the weather, but having no clothes on.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. It wasn't heard of, you know. It just they were just called funny old nudists.
Yeah. And that's what you and Dad were from the family. Yes. Funny old nudists.
Yes.
But you enjoyed it.
Oh, it was, and the place was so well run and so well organised.
Yeah.
All for keeping healthy.
Yeah. And when you think, there we are talking about the smogs of London, because I heard that in regard to that, I read that the coal that was being mined, all the good coal, was sent abroad, and all the rubbish coal, you know, inferior, was what was being given to British people. Yeah. And so here was this weather situation and this inferior coal. Something had to be done. It was quite a few years later that the Clean Air Act and something had to be done, because we remember fogs even without the great smog. We remember fogs. So here you are trying to do the best for yourself, eating healthily, exercising, all the things that people do now, Mum. Was very ahead of its time, wasn't it?
And we lived in Harlow, which was lovely.
Yeah.
It was so lovely to be in.
Yeah.
Dad, of course, worked in London, and he lovely when he got back, and especially at weekends. It was lovely for us to enjoy.
Yes.
The lovely place where we were.
And I often remember, well, I've got lots of photos of it, Mum, that you would just go out to a pub and sit in the garden. I'd have some lemonade, sparkly bubbles, and a straw, and a packet of crisps, because you couldn't buy those in the shops then.
And you were great friends with the local pub with their daughter, because we got a photograph of you somewhere. Yeah. Of you and her shelling peas outside the pub while we were sitting having a drink.
Righty-ho.
Outside. It was lovely.
So it was a nice community that you were part of, a special time. So next time we'll talk about a little job you got in the betting shop. And, well, no, not a betting shop. No, betting office. Well, we'll talk about that next time.
It was a bookies.
Bookies, that's what you call it. Yeah, naturists and bookies, you know.
And here we go. Your lovely little school.
And my little school. Yes. So we'll talk about that, because that will be next episode. And then the one after that, it's about our move to Tottenham.
Yes.
Yeah.
To Bruce Castle Court.
We moved back to London. Yes. Did you want to move back to London?
I think we did then, because Dad's work then he was very, very busy.
Yeah.
And over those few years, life had changed a lot.
Yeah, so you'd had that little respite from the war and me growing up a little bit. But then when I was 5, off I moved back to Tottenham, which I remember every single day as clear as a day.
It was a lovely spot there as well.
Yes, it was.
Near the little park. And
it was lovely.
And we found a nice school then, local.
Yes,
that was.
So we'll talk about my school in Harlow, and we'll talk about the betting. No, not the betting shop. The bookies.
Bookies. Yes.
All right then. See you next time.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
It's nice to find out all these things, and honestly, it is something that stays with me. Let the air get to your body. Isn't it strange? You're taught these things as a small child, and you grow up with them, and you still believe it. Oh, I don't know. And of course the family. Well, Anne told me that. My aunt, you know, in Ireland, my dad's sister. Oh, she said, I remember the family thinking you were nuts. Well, we probably were, but I don't think it's a nutty thing to do now. It was a good thing to do, especially all being, you know, the nerves in the war. And it was just like taking that breath, wasn't it? And I'm glad they did it. It was lovely, and I'm glad I was part of it too. So shall we do some TA? Okay. Yeah, we're doing about time structuring, aren't we? We've done withdrawal and we've done rituals. Now we're going to talk about past timing. So imagine I'm at the doctor's surgery and I don't really want to talk to anyone. You've been there, I'm sure. No, I don't speak. I withdraw. But that means I don't get any strokes. Yeah, I don't get anything back, do I? We've talked about that. That's all right if you do it for a short period of times, but not too long, because it's not very good for you, because we need strokes. Rituals, well, they're a good way of getting strokes. You know, if we know what's expected of us, well, I remember that takes me back to my school days, and we used to say good morning to the teacher. Good morning, Miss Parsonson. And she'd say, good morning, children. Sit down. We knew she would say that. She knew we would say that. And that's a ritual. And we all felt comfortable. We got a stroke. They're easy strokes to get because we know what's expected of us. They're not risky. And they feel good. They're low-grade strokes. Yeah, but they're good. Now, pastime, it's a good way of getting strokes, and it's not really risky, not too risky. So I say in the doctor's surgery, hello, how are you? It's a ritual, isn't it? Fine, thanks, how are you? Not too bad. Now we can end it there. But we can go into past timing. And past timing is what it says. It's talking about past times. Well, isn't the doctor's busy nowadays? I remember when you used to, call the doctor out and he would come, or used to come here and it wasn't too busy, or this or that. We talk about something. Oh, yes, they say, I remember that. I wasn't at this GP's. I lived in London, actually, and the GPs were a little bit busy. Oh, yes, we go off. And we can carry on and we can carry on. It actually goes nowhere. What I'm doing with you is sharing past times. And what you're doing with me is sharing past times. What we're doing usually, we're discussing what happened yesterday rather than here and now. It's light, superficial conversation that's often heard at cocktail parties. Yeah. We might say, oh, I remember when my children were this, and oh, so do I. Do you remember when we did that? Yeah. Now, are we in parent, adult, or child? It feels like we're in adult because we're talking in that tone of voice, we're relating our past times. But maybe we're in child because maybe we're recalling feelings that we had as a child. Maybe we're recalling times when we were with our mums and we were in the GP surgery and we might have felt a bit nervous. Or maybe we were at a party and we didn't quite know how we felt and, we felt that nervousness. Mainly we get positive strokes, but sometimes it's negative. And they're more intense strokes than rituals. So we may be an adult, we may be in child, we may feel in adult, but because we're reliving past times, we might actually be in child. And the other person gets in child, and we're often then and it's quite a comfortable position to be. Nothing wrong with being in child together, reliving past times. Next week, it's about activities. So that's it for this week. Thank you very much for sharing. I hope you've enjoyed it. And I will tell you a little bit about the film. Oh, yes. We went down the 39 steps and the tide was just going out. And the birds like it when the tide's out because they can forage and all of that. But they just flew in to the little bit of the where the sand was as the tide was going out, and they were a little bit nervous. Was it? Oh, should we? Shall we? Shan't we? Yes. So I just took them. It was lovely, bright January day, not cold. And then, of course, that night was the beautiful full moon. Monday it was, and so I took that. So I hope you enjoy it. And take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for sharing this with me. If you can you press like? It's the little thumbs up. If you can just press on that, and if you haven't already, if you can just come down and press subscribe, that really does help the algorithm to get this out there. Thanks very much. I'll see you soon. Well, I'll see you next week, hopefully. Bye.